Hey guys, Melinda here, and well, by the title of this video, you can probably tell that this is going to be something different from my normal fangirl moments. We're not going to talk about my obsession. Today, I wanted to try something different and tell you a story, or a couple of stories that I've had when I was about 6 years old, about almost a decade and a half ago. Whew. I need to get this off my chest. I've only told one other person this story, so if you don't believe in paranormal stuff, then you can get off. If you just want to hear a ghost story, welcome. But this actually happened to me, and it has affected me deeply to this day. So let's get started. I don't know what this was. So around 10.5 years ago, my uncle owned this company, and this company does advertisement and marketing. And so he owned this huge building downtown. It had like 3 or 4 floors, I believe. It was really old. It was made out of like rock, and it was glass, and it was an old building on work there. And so one day, when I was around 6 years old, I was with my cousin Sander and his mom. And it was around 6 a.m. and we had just gotten to the building. We needed to get there because that day I was going to go back home because I spent the night with him over the weekend or something. We go inside the building, and it's really old. And so when you go up to the second floor, it's wooden flooring. So when you're walking down that hallway, when you're walking down that corridor, you are actually creating squeaks and creaks down the hallway on the opposite side of you, and it's very horrendously scary. But it always happens to everyone. So like someone could be walking over here, but there'll be sounds over here. It's creepy. I grew up in that building, so it never bothered me that much because I always thought that was a normal thing, but it's not. So it was around, I would say, 12, and it was still me, my cousin Sander, and my aunt. And so what happens is my aunt had to go somewhere for a few hours, so she's gonna leave us alone in the building, and it was just us in the building. She fed us lunch, and then she asked us if we wanted to do anything before she left, and we said no, and that we would just go to bed because, like we said, we woke up at 6, and I woke up at like at 5 in the morning just to go to her work because I had to get picked up. Went into her office. She locked us in, and she said, if you need to get out, you can open it from the other side. Just make sure you don't close this door, because if you do, you will get locked out. So we were just like, alright, cool. So we went inside the office, she locked us in, and we laid down on the couch that was in the back of the office, and it's like a small office. It's like it's a decent sized office, but it's pretty small, but enough for a couch. Like a 2-seater couch, about what me and Sandra do. We both lay on the couch on opposite sides, so our heads are on each arm. Sandra being really, really tall. His legs extended out on most of the couch, and I was just on the side. I wasn't really tired. I usually got up really early because of where I went to school. I got up really, really early, so I wasn't really tired. And so what happens is I'm just sitting there. I'm just laying there by myself, just thinking about life as a 6-year-old. Sander is knocked out. He's asleep because he usually doesn't wake up that early, so he was asleep, and I was left alone, and I was awake. I happened to discover a duck, the Aflac duck, and it was like a little stuffed animal of it, and every time you pressed like I think its chest, it would go Aflac, and then it would say Aflac 3 times in a very angry Aflac voice. And so I saw that on the shelf, and I grabbed it and I just held it because I was like, I'm alone. I'm a 6-year-old girl and I'm alone. I'm gonna cuddle this. I had that in my hands. I was just laying there looking at the tall ceiling, just thinking about life as a 6-year-old. I start hearing footsteps. And once again, I'm telling you, I was alone in this building. This 3 to 4 floor building. I was alone with my cousin Xander, who is asleep. My Aunt Chupa's gone. I was thinking maybe it's my Aunt Chupa, maybe she's coming back early from whatever she was doing. But the thing is, she told us that she would call us once she was done, because Jay had a phone, and so he had a phone, and she said she would call him as soon as she was coming back into the building so that we wouldn't be scared. The thing is, she didn't call us, and there was someone walking in the hallway. And like I said, you can hear footsteps on the other side when someone is walking, because it's just the way the floor worked in that building. I was hearing these footsteps, and I was really scared because, like I said, she would call us, and I thought she would, but there's footsteps in the hallway, and I was 6, and so I was just there laying, cuddling this duck in my hands, just clinging onto it for dear life because I thought I was going to die. What I do is, for some reason, this was such a good idea in my head that I actually get up from the couch and I'm holding the duck still, meaning I'm holding the duck. I get up from the couch, I go to the door, and the thing is, it's like an old wooden door, but it has like a glass window through it, but it's like one of those where you can't really see through it, but you can see like shapes through it, but you can't see the actual person through it. Now that I'm thinking about it, I'm getting like an image in my head, and it's fucking scaring me right now. I'm freaking myself out from 10 years ago. But you can like it had like this pattern through it, like you can't see through it. It's just like a blurry. It's like one of those windows where I'll put an image right here of what it looked like. But I open the door and I look out to see if there was anybody in it. For some reason, I was brave enough to do this as a 6-year-old. And I look in and I just look down the hallway, and it's like a really long hallway. Like it's about probably between somewhere 50 and 100 feet of just this hallway, and it goes like from like one end to another. It's really long hallway, and it's all wooden flooring. But I just looked out the door and I looked down the hall, nothing on this side. I looked on the other side, nothing. And it's like a office on this side, so there was nothing. I even looked in the office, there was no one. And I was like, okay, maybe it's just my head. Maybe I'm just freaking out. And that's what I thought as a 6-year-old for some reason. Somehow, in some way, I thought this of a 6-year-old. So I close the door and it locks from the other side. I close it and I sit back down. I'm just sitting and I'm just like, oh god. And in this office, I forgot to mention, in this office, there's the door to get out, and then there's another door, but it leads into another office. That one was also closed, but it wasn't locked, so it was closed completely. And it's really hard to open because, like I said, it's an old building and it had really everything in it was really old, and it was terrible. So come back to where I came in from, seeing nothing in the hallway, but I was hearing footsteps. I'm sitting on this couch, hanging on to this duck for dear life, and I just relax, and I'm just, it's probably in my head. I'm sitting there, and I'm just, still thinking about contemplating life as a 6-year-old, and I hear that side door slowly, creakily open, and it's just enough to where you can see into the office, but to where it's not completely open. Like, just enough. As it was opening, I kind of just slowly turned my head and looked at it, and I was like, oh, there was nothing in there still. Like, it just opened enough to where it was open. Like, it was open enough to where I could see into that office, but it was not open, like, wide open. Like, I could see into this office, but no one was in there. I was paralyzed. My body just refused to move, because I witnessed this door open by itself. I just got a breeze. But like I said, I witnessed this door open by itself. It just stood there. And I was paralyzed because I could not see anyone in it. And I'm just like, oh god. I eventually get up. About like 4 minutes of looking at this door and just freaking the fuck out. I get up, I close the door, and I'm just like, oh god. I sit back down on the couch. And Sander, he's still knocked out. And I'm like, please wake up. I need you right now. And me being a 6-year-old, I'm just dying of just panic and just overwhelmed by whatever was happening. And like I said, he was there asleep and I was alone awake with this freaking Aflac duck. And so what happens is, this is where everything goes wrong. Did you see that? I think that means serious chiz. Like I said, this glass window on the door that actually opened into the hallway had that weird glass, and where you can't see through it, but you can see shapes. I remember I was sitting there, and it was like right after I saw that door open. I heard the footsteps again. This time it was really loud. Like, it wasn't running, it was just walking like very slow, but putting so much pressure into the footsteps, it created such a noise. Hard walking, and I don't know how else to explain it, but it was really hard walking, and I could hear it so clearly, and it was just outside of the door. I was looking at this door, still in fear. I'm like, I am not safe. I need an adult. Just looked at this door, and I kept hearing this walking for a good like 2 minutes probably, and as soon as I realized what was happening, I saw this figure step in front of the glass window, and it stood there, and it had like a humanoid shape, like it was like a man or something. And the thing is that usually you can see like through the window of you can see like the color of the skin, but for some reason, it was completely black. Like, you cannot see any features. My heart is starting to race right now. Oh boy, and I'm not even, and it just stood there, and like I said, it's this humanoid man figure, and it's completely black. I cannot see anything, and it's just standing there. You know, usually at the bottom of the doors, usually there's like a little opening, so that you can, like, when like light shines through the bottom, you can see like people standing there. The thing is that I look down where that little thing is, still on the couch, and there was nothing. It was like the light was shining through it, but there was absolutely nothing there. But there's this figure standing at the door, and it's freaking me out. Ooh, I'm paralyzed again, and I'm just staring at it like someone is there, but they have no feet. I didn't tell this to the person I told this before, because I thought it would freak them out too much. So what happens is, it was there for like a good, like, few minutes, and I was just staring at this door, holding the duck. It's just there. And I was, like I said, I was paralyzed, and I could not move my body, because it was overtaken by fear. And the last thing it did was, I saw like movement happening as it was just standing there. And what it was doing was, it was moving its arm. And what I saw was, it put its hand on the window, and it just and they just slowly dragged down their hand, creating that squeaking sound on the glass, turned to its side, and it walked away. And I looked down at the little opening, just like contemplating, like, what? And I looked down at the little opening on the door, and I saw 2 feet walking away, and there was no footsteps where it was walking except on the other side of the hallway, and it was very faint. Just imagine being a 6-year-old, seeing a figure stand there at the window, completely black, and seeing nothing for feet on the bottom, and then seeing that on the door of the glass window. It freaked me the fuck out. And I remember, after it walked away from it, I actually got up from this couch again, opened the door to see if there was anybody in there, and I didn't see anybody. And I was like, am I not alone? Is someone else here besides SJ? And so for some reason, I felt brave enough, and I took the duck with me because I didn't want to be alone, and I went to the restroom because I needed to go. That was my main problem. I needed to pee. And so I went to the restroom, and I come back out into this hallway, and I'm slowly walking, and I felt like someone was watching me from behind. I actually, as I was walking, I felt like I said, I felt someone behind me, and I didn't want to turn around, so I just ran down back to the office, and I closed that door behind me, and I made sure it was locked, and I made sure that other door not move. So I got my Aunt Chupa's chair, and I put it in front of it because I did not want it to be there, and I didn't want it to come in. But you know, it's ghosts. This is a really long story, but it's a long couple of hours for me as a 6-year-old. I was sitting there, and I actually lay down. What happened was, I actually started hearing footsteps again, but this time not in the hallway, in the office. And usually when you can hear footsteps in the offices in this building, it usually means that there's someone in that office. And so I heard footsteps in this office, and I was freaking the fuck out. I was like, I cannot see anything, but I hear footsteps. First thing that came into my mind, squeeze the duck. And so I squeezed its chest, and it just screamed Aflac 3 times. And as soon as I pressed that button, the footsteps would stop, and then it would start doing it again. And I would press it, and I was just doing it repeatedly until footsteps were totally gone. And that brought me comfort for some reason. It brought me comfort, and it brought me happiness, and I actually fell asleep with the duck in my arms. I could not sleep. For those few hours, I could not sleep until after those footsteps. After all of that journey, I actually fell asleep on that couch with the Aflac, just pressing the Aflac duck's chest, making it quack every second I could, and I fell asleep like that. I woke back up, and Sander was actually awake, and his mom was there, and I had like this look of like dread and scared on my face, like my eyes had bags under them, because I was and I don't think Sander remembers, but I asked him, I was like, was I asleep this whole time? And he told me, I think he's like, I don't know, he's like, you didn't go to sleep when I fell asleep. This is when I woke up, you were asleep. I was like, did I dream this? And as I was like a 6-year-old, I was thinking, was I dreaming this? Like, was this like just a nightmare in my head that lasted for a long time, and I just remember every single detail of? I don't know, but it wasn't until I was about 8 or 9 when my uncle's building was actually on a ghost, kind of like a ghost hunters-esque show. Basically, they had ghost hunters actually go into the building and find ghosts. And they actually did find something, but I don't remember what show it was. I actually learned something that night. Apparently, that building where my uncle had his business originally was a hotel. And at one point, it actually burned down. And there was, I think, a few people who died in the building because they got burned down. They burned to death. Apparently, when they rebuilt this building, their bodies had not been found. They were not found because they were burned so much to death. Because the bodies were burned so much they couldn't find the bodies. And so they rebuilt the building and it's to where it is now. They reside there because of what happened. And I'm not exactly sure when that happened, but it happened. The hotel burned down and people died, and ever since then it's been there. But that building actually still resides there, and it's still there. And every time I pass by, whenever I'm downtown, I get scared because just remembering those days when I could have possibly died several times. I could have possibly died when they did that. I swear, I keep seeing something from the corner of my eyes, and it's freaking me out. And it's just that left a mark such in my life. And it's like I'm very aware of my surroundings ever since that day. But still, I get really weird feelings every time. Like, my hand does that whenever something, like, weird happens to me. It freaks me out. It's terrifying for me. It's terrible for me, because, I don't know, it's just, oh god. Thinking about it freaks me out. That was one experience. My second experience was when I was, I think, a bit older. Actually, it was around the same year. I was 6 years old. A lot happened when I was 6. What happened was, I was in my Oma's house, and she used to live in this 2-story house out in the country. It was a huge house. In this house, I would stay there a lot, and I would always spend the night, and I would always sleep on the bottom floor. But in actuality, I actually had my own room in that house on the second floor, and I would stay there sometimes, but not a lot. But because I would always sleep with my Oma, because I didn't like sleeping alone in other people's houses, so I would sleep with her. One night, I decided to be a brave little girl and sleep in that room. And so she asked me if I wanted her to sleep with me in that room. And I was like, yes, please. Because I was not brave enough. I wanted to sleep in that room for once and use it. And I decided to just let her sleep with me. At the time, I actually had this little chihuahua, and her name was Flaca. And she was so precious. But she was this little chihuahua and I had. And she didn't bark much. Like, she didn't bark at all, to be honest, because she didn't really have a reason to bark, so she never barked. But anyway, one night, I was sleeping in this particular room on the second floor. And my Grandpa Jerry, he slept on the other room that was across this hallway. Once again, hallways. My Oma was sleeping with me in my room. I was sleeping there, and then I hear my dog bark. Flocka. I hear her flock. I hear her start barking, and so I open my eyes very slowly to where I could just see what's happening. And the thing is that I see that the door to the room was open, like it was wide open. And the thing is that we actually closed it before. We closed it so that we can have total darkness. We closed the door right before, and I know I did. I know that door was closed. But the thing is that it was wide open. You could see, the moonlight shining through, so you can see when it was hitting the floor, it was reflecting off and hitting and going to the sides. And so I saw a bunch of light coming through. So I saw a bunch of this moonlight coming into the doorway. I also saw another black figure, and it was really tall. It's about the size of my Grandpa Jerry, who's 6'8". Him being a very tall Irish British man that he was very it was a wide figure, and it was just standing there looking at the bed. I didn't really think much of it. I thought it was my Grandpa Jerry just chooking and checking in on us. Closed my eyes and I went back to sleep. But my dog, Flocka, she kept barking for a good 5 minutes, and she was keeping me awake, and I was just like, Flocka, be quiet. Eventually, about a couple minutes after I said that, she actually stopped barking, and it became total darkness again. And so I opened my eyes and I see that the door is closed, and that nothing was there. Nothing was there. At least that's what I thought. And I was like, oh, okay, or whatever. So I went back to sleep, but a couple of hours later, it was around 3 in the morning, the witching hour, I hear Flocka growling. He wakes me up again because I was a light sleeper as a kid. I look around, and like I said, it was complete darkness. The door wasn't open. There wasn't any light shining through the windows or the door. Nothing was there. It was total, complete darkness. But she was growling, and I felt her face to see what she was looking at in the direction, and it was right and directly in front of the bed. And so I'm looking just like wherever this area was, and my eyes adjust and I start seeing something like standing there, and I was just looking at it thinking, huh, what's that? And me being me, I totally like tried to forget that experience I had at the office. So me being me, I was just like, and it made I was paralyzed again, and I'm just there like, oh god, just shaking like in a cartoon, just like, oh god, I'm going to die tonight. And I'm just staring at what this complete darkness, just like seeing a figure. And then in my head I'm thinking, maybe it's just my eye, like maybe it's all in my head, maybe I'm just thinking too much. Then I see these two glowing eyes appear. Like they didn't even have like a pupil like normal eyes do. It was just complete one shade of something. It was a weird color, and I don't know how to describe it, but they just appear like if they just opened their eyes and they just appeared, and they were there, and it was really tall. I'm just like looking like as if I was looking at the ceiling, and I'm just like, what? And they're there and they're just floating, and I'm like, what? And so I try to wake up my Oma, and I'm like tapping on her, and she finally wakes up, and she's like, what's wrong? And I'm like, there's someone in here, and I'm pointing at the eyes, and she moves and she tries to look at them, and as soon as she looks at them, they disappear. And the thing is that as soon as they like the eyes disappear, that figure disappears, and Flocka starts growling. And she's like, what are you talking about? And I'm like, there was someone there. And she was like, back to sleep. And so I did, and I actually went back to sleep, and I slept through the whole night, but I had a nightmare about it. I was like, it was crazy. So the next morning, I get up, and my Oma's not there, but my dog is still there, but she's like near me because she was scared. I had her there, and I look around, there was nothing there, and there was nothing there, and I went downstairs, and I just hear like glass, like it's being like as if there was glass being cleaned up. And I go downstairs, and I go around the corner, and I see my grandpa Jerry, and he's actually cleaning, like he was sweeping all of this like glass. And I asked him, I was like, what happened? He's like, oh, the clock fell down and it broke. And I was like, clock fell down? He's like, well, when I came downstairs, it was on the floor already. It was open. He was like, well, when I came downstairs, it was on the floor and glass was everywhere. I was like, I didn't hear it last night. He's like, I didn't either. And so he was cleaning it, and I was like, what is happening? So it wasn't until like years later, when I was like around like 10 or 11, my cousin from my mom's side of the family came in, and she talked to my Oma, and she told my Oma that she saw a bunch of dead people walking around. Like she was one, like she's kind of a psychic medium, kind of in a way, to the where she gets to see dead people, but she can't really communicate. She couldn't really talk to them that much. She can more just see them and kind of interact with them, but not full on like speak for them. And she told my Oma that they were angry, and that they wanted her to get out, and they just wanted her out. They wanted her out of the house. They were gonna do everything in their power to make sure that my Oma gets out. And so I didn't know it until that time, but apparently when they put up the new clock that was to replace the one that was broken, that door to it's an old, like, grandfather clocks, they have doors you can open, so you can like go in and like clean the chimes. And then every morning, either the glass of the grandfather clock, it was broken, but it was still on the wall, or it was wide open. And they didn't tell me that. They knew that when that clock broke the first time, that it was a spirit. But they didn't tell me because they didn't want to freak me out, as I was a 6-year-old, and they didn't want to freak me out. Yeah, that one wasn't much of a spirit. That was much more. I'm not sure which one's weird. The one with glowing eye. Jesus Christ! Like they didn't want to tell me because they would scared that I would refuse to stay there anymore. And I was like, so I did see something. I wasn't crazy. I actually saw it. I wasn't crazy. For the longest time, my family thought I was crazy because I was seeing things. But in actuality, they were actually there. They were there, and they thought I was crazy. Those are some of my ghost experiences. I just heard something. I have more up my sleeve, I think, but I'm not going to share those because those are probably scary. I don't even want to think about them. So, I'm going to go eat because I'm hungry. And I need to get over this. And by getting over it, I mean I'm gonna go watch some Ghost Adventures. So I guess that's it for today, guys. I guess I'll see you next week. Go check out all my social links down in the description below. That is Instagram, Twitter, all my Instagrams actually, my Twitter, my Tumblr, and of course my WATTPads. So go check out all my stories down below if you like, Markiplier or Dan and Phil. Sorry I've not been updating recently. I've been busy. So go check out everything down in the description below. Give me a follow on all of them. Like this video, subscribe, and comment. And I'll see you next week. Please send me messages to come from me because I am very scared right now. And I'm still waiting on my package of my plushie. I'll show you that when it comes in. Excited. So excited. Yes. Oh god, it's starting to rain. This is not a good sign. I gotta go before I die. Bye, you guys. See you next week on Saturday. Hopefully I won't be dead. Hopefully. We'll see. Bye, guys.